If you've gardened long enough, you've probably asked yourself the same frustrating question I have. Why does good soil feel so hard to maintain? We pour in compost, buy fertilizers, mix amendments, and a season later, we're back at square one. But here's the quiet truth most modern gardening advice skips over. For generations, gardeners built raised beds that fed themselves, no bottled nutrients, no constant inputs, just smart design and biology doing the heavy lifting. On the Soil Power channel, we're all about systems that work with nature, not against it. And today, I want to walk you through one of the simplest, cheapest, and most overlooked garden designs ever used, a raised bed that can be built for about $2 and, once established, rarely needs added fertilizer. Let's talk about what it is, how it works, and why it quietly disappeared. This isn't a trendy invention, it's actually a stripped-down version of what old homestead gardeners, forest gardeners, and even some traditional African and European growers used, almost instinctively. The idea is simple: instead of treating soil like an inert growing medium, you build a raised bed that functions much like a forest floor. At its core, this raised bed relies on layered organic matter, materials that slowly break down underground, releasing nutrients over many years. Think fallen branches, rotting wood, leaves, kitchen scraps, and soil, all stacked in a way that, really mimics natural ecosystems. As these layers decompose, they feed soil microbes, fungi, and worms, which in turn, feed your plants. So, the result is a bed that actually improves every season instead of wearing out. The reason this raised bed can be built for around $2, or even free, is because it uses materials most gardeners already have access to. Small branches, pruned twigs, dried leaves, grass clippings, cardboard, and kitchen scraps are often seen as waste. But, in this system, they're the foundation. You don't need treated lumber, fancy frames, or imported soil. The raised part comes from the internal structure, not from expensive boards. Honestly, many gardeners just mound the bed slightly above ground level or edge it with stones, scrap wood, or, soil itself. When you stop buying fertilizer and soil year after year, this design pays for itself almost immediately. What makes this raised bed special isn't just thrift, it's biology. Buried woody material acts like a sponge. As it decomposes slowly, it holds moisture, stores nutrients, and releases them gradually over time. This creates a steady nutrient supply rather than the feast and famine cycle common with synthetic fertilizers. Fungi play a huge role here. As wood breaks down, fungal networks spread through the bed, unlocking minerals that plants can't access on their own. This is especially powerful for fruiting crops like tomatoes, squash, beans, and peppers, which thrive in fungal-rich soil. Once the system is alive, your role shifts from feeding plants to simply protecting soil life. So, why did we stop building beds like this? Convenience and marketing played a big role. Bagged soil, instant fertilizers, and raised bed kits are easy to sell because they promise fast results. A self-feeding bed, on the other hand, requires patience and, a bit of trust in natural processes. There's also the influence of industrial agriculture. Modern growing advice often treats soil as something to be controlled chemically, rather than nurtured biologically. The irony is that while this raised bed looks, primitive, it's actually more advanced than most modern methods because it relies on ecological intelligence rather than constant correction. The first season, this raised bed performs well, but the real magic happens later. In year 2 and 3, yields often increase without any added fertilizer. Soil becomes darker, looser, and more crumbly. Watering needs decrease because the decomposing layers hold moisture like a reservoir. Instead of compacting, the soil structure improves. Roots grow deeper and stronger. Pest pressure often drops because healthier plants are naturally more resilient. This is why, experienced gardeners really fall in love with the system. It actually rewards long-term thinking. While nearly any crop will grow in this bed, heavy feeders benefit the most. Leafy greens, for example, just explode with growth once microbial life is established. Tomatoes develop a much deeper flavor. Beans and peas, well, they fix nitrogen more efficiently. And root crops? They grow straighter and cleaner because the soil stays loose. Even perennial crops benefit, especially herbs and berries that really appreciate stable, nutrient-rich soil year after year. The biggest mistake gardeners make is rushing the process. If you don't give the bed time to settle and activate biologically, you may think it just, doesn't work. Another common issue is using only soft materials without enough woody matter, which leads to faster breakdown and, honestly, less long-term benefit. Balance is key. Diversity of materials creates resilience. Also, avoid digging deeply once the bed is established. Disturbing fungal networks sets the system back. Let soil life do the work. If you're gardening in a backyard, homestead, or even a small plot, this raised bed shines. It maximizes output per square foot while minimizing input. You don't need large land or constant spending, just smart layering and patience. That's why this design fits perfectly with the soil power philosophy: build once, harvest for years. This $2 raised bed wasn't abandoned because it failed. It was forgotten because it doesn't generate repeat purchases, but gardeners who rediscover it often say the same thing: I'll never garden any other way again. When you stop fighting soil and start partnering with it, everything changes. If there's one lesson I want you to take from this, it's this: the most powerful gardening tools are often the simplest ones. Systems that mimic nature outlast trends, products, and promises. If this article helped you rethink how you build your garden beds, share it with a fellow gardener who's tired of buying fertilizer every season. And if you want more deep, practical soil wisdom like this, make sure you subscribe to the Soil Power channel and pass it along. Healthy soil grows more than food. It grows freedom.